Okay. We are in Sanhedrin. Oh, you got something to say, Julia?
I have. I've got two comments. I don't know if I can put them at the beginning, but I have two comments. I didn't want to cheat on the question about the hairstyles, but the passage that we were reading has, I don't like the expression beautiful women at all. I'm sure it hides a multitude of sins. And I tried to look on Google to see whether I could find any information about it. And all I found is one solitary article by a lady who indicates that really what we're coming on to, and with the story of Tamar, are both really unjustifiable episodes. And it's very difficult to take a moral out of them, other than the fact that that when children are conceived in the way that these young men were, nothing good is going to happen. But that's not necessarily the case. I just find it very disturbing that there isn't much good to come out of the story at all, to take out of it. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that while I was looking on Google, I had an A1 comment from whoever, AI, sorry, not A1, AI comment, which said, because I looked up Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav, and what the comment was from AI was that it was Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, who often is repeated. But I don't think that was the case at all. I think that was completely wrong. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. All right. Let's deal with the second bit first. Is Rav Yehuda the same person as Rav Yehuda Hanassi? No, he's not. So I think that AI is wrong on that. Rav Yehuda, Rabbi Hanassi is known as Rebbe in the Gemarah, and is not. Rav Yehuda is a different Rav Yehuda. So you're right on that point. Now let's go to the substantial point, and that is the whole business of Isha Yafat Torah. I think that we should get it up on the screen, Parashat Ki Teitzei, and let's have a look and find the chapter on the screen. I'll need to look up the chapter because I don't know the chapter off by heart, unless David can help me. What chapter is it, David, in Devarim?
No, 25, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, we don't do chapters, do we? Because they're goyish.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're goyish. It wasn't a bad guess, though. It's 24, I think. Oh, no, it's earlier. It's 22. Maybe even 20. Well, yeah, 21, actually. Yeah, 21. Right, let's get it up on the screen to start with, because I think it's an important question. Right. It begins at verse 10 over here. Right, let me get it on the screen for you straight away. There we go. Right. Now then, this is verse 10 is beginning of Parashat Ki Teitzei. It starts in the middle of a chapter. The reason I said that chapters are goyish, for those of you who thought I was being facetious, I wasn't. The chapters that we use to help us reference these things were instituted by the Christian scholars. They're not a Jewish institution. The Jewish institution is to split them up into parashiot. And if I was to say to David, what does it say right at the beginning of Parashat Ki Teitzei, he could tell me that straight away without even thinking about it. If I was to say to him, what does it say in chapter 21, verse 10, he'd have to think very carefully or get his Chumash out, because we go by the Jewish things, the parashiot. However, there are people, of course, who know every chapter and verse, like Ruby, for example. But it's a very useful thing that the Christians did for us, because we do need to be able to reference things quickly. And had the Christians not done it, then probably somebody Jewish would have done it anyway, would have done it probably differently. but the chapters are split up by the Christian scholars. So I was being a little facetious, but accurate. Now, verse 10 on your screen is the beginning of Parshat Ki Teitzei. And this is the Parsha of, which is known as Parshat Eshet Yefat To'ar. The reason being that is the expression over there I have blued out for you. And it says like this: when you go out to war against your enemies, and Hashem delivers the enemy into your hand, and you take captives. And you see in amongst the captives, Eshet Yefat To'ar, a beautiful woman. And you desire her. Just a little language thing there. I think we might have said this when we looked at it before, but forgive me if we have, but you'll have probably forgotten anyway. What word can you see in there? V'chashaktaba. Cheshek. Cheshek, that good Hebrew / Yiddish word. Anybody ever said, "Oh, I've got no cheshek for this"?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Jackie, they're familiar
Yeah,
to you?
familiar.
Yeah.
In London, yes.
Yeah, I've got no cheshek for this. It means I've got no desire for it. Can't be bothered. Got no cheshek. That the chashaktaba. Well, in this situation, he has got cheshek. He's got a lot of cheshek for this this beautiful woman. He desires her. V'lakachta lecha leisha, and you can take her for a wife. All fine and dandy. Except you've got all these conditions that we went through last time, the time before. Got to bring her into the house, and she's got to shave her head and let her nails grow, and all that stuff that goes on. And then look at this. Va'achar came, and after that, after all of that performance, tavo eleh v'alta, you're then allowed to be intimate with her, v'haita lecha leisha, and she can be your wife. I don't know how much clearer it can be in the Torah that this business of making her come to the house and shaving head and all that stuff is prior to intimate relations taking place. It says it very clearly. Our Gemarah is finagling around and bringing all sorts of different opinions to show that that isn't correct. Like Julia, I don't like it at all. However, my dislike for it, in addition to the dislike that Julia has, I don't like it for the same reasons as Julia, but I don't like it because this is halachic acrobatics. It's making the halacha something that it clearly isn't to fit in with something that the Gemarah is going to say, which is the story of Amnon and Tamar. Now, we're going to go through the story of Amnon and Tamar very shortly. But the concept of what's going on here, in my humble opinion, is that the Tanaim here are trying to get a square peg into a round hole. David doesn't agree. Tell us why you don't agree, David.
Okay. If you take the first 2 or even 3 paragraphs of Ki Teitzei, they are permission to do things which naturally are not correct, but halachically acceptable. But many of the commentators point out that although this may be just about within the boundaries of the law, it's not a recommended thing to do, and only tragedy will come as a result of these unions. One of the interpretations of the tragedy that the union will provide a bein sorel morer, the 3rd paragraph in Ki Teitzei, and that's possibly why the story of Tamar and Amnon appears here, depending on which way you're going to interpret the story, that perhaps it wasn't incest. This relationship maybe was allowed, but no good was going to come from it, as you'll see.
Okay, now before Julia comes back, because Julia's got something to say on that, let me just say that, David, you misunderstood what I was saying, because I fully agree with everything that you just said. And it's clear, all the Mefarshim say that if you do this business with an Eshet Yifat To'ah, this is very much a b'di'evet situation. You're not really meant to do it, but we know what human nature is like, so we'll allow you to do it. No good will become of it. The next paragraph after this is, if one man has two wives, one beloved and one despised, what will happen is that this woman will become a despised woman. And then the next thing that will happen is you'll have a ben sorer moreh, you'll have a rebellious son, and no good will have it come from it at all. That exactly as David has said. That was not what I was referring to, David, when I was talking about halachic acrobatics. What I'm talking about...
If you look at the article, which I'm sure you have, there's both the machlokes between the Yerushalmi and the Bavli, and the machlokes between Rashi and the Rambam.
Correct. But what I was referring to, and I haven't even told you what the acrobatics were that I'm objecting to, so I need to tell you that before you can tell me whether you agree with it or disagree with it. The halachic acrobatics that I am objecting to is the opinion, and it's not a fully accepted opinion, but an opinion that says they were allowed to have relationships with this woman once before they went through this process of bringing her in the house and all that. That's what I'm objecting to as halachic acrobatics, because look at the words. They're blue on the screen for you. Va'achar kain. And after that, you can be intimate with her. How much clearer can it be that you're not allowed to be intimate with her beforehand? So, as I read the Gemarah, and we're going to go through the Gemarah, we're going to go through the story of Amnon and Tamar first, and then we're going to get to the Gemarah. As I read the Gemarah is tying itself up in knots in order to make sure that the Tanakh, where it says Tamar says, "Go and ask the king for permission to marry me," is a possibility, and I think that that's halachic acrobatics, and I don't think it's a necessary acrobatics. I think there's a better explanation for it, and that's the halachic acrobatics I was referring to, David, not the whole business of Eshet Yifat To'ah, which that's very clearly, as you very succinctly put it. It's a b'di'evet situation. The Torah knows that we are what's the word? We men are weak characters, and so it gives us a possibility to do something that, if you don't let us do it, we're going to do it anyway. And so at least let us do it within the bounds of some kind of respectability. And of course, it does protect this Eshet Yifat To'ah later on, because it says you can't send her away, you can't chuck her out. And we spoke about that last week. Right. So, okay, first Julia, then Hannah, and then we have to go to the story of Amnon and Tamar. Julia.
Okay, I agree with most of what you've said. What I don't agree with, which is what both you and David said, is that inevitably no good will come of the situation. Because, and I think that that is where people are using this as a justification for the criticism, but it's not necessarily the case that no good will come out of the situation. The bit about the preferred wife, the bit about the difficult son. You may have a wonderful son. You may have a fantastic marriage. I find that the justification of saying no good is going to come out of this, it's not a whitewash, but it's a weakness, because it's a bad thing. But to find the only justification for it is that no good's going to come out of it, to me seems a very weak argument. And that's what concerns me, is that there's no other argument other than the one that you've put, because that's the one that the woman wrote in the article. There doesn't seem to be anything else to justify this.
Okay, let me see if I've understood what you're saying correctly. What you're saying is that we're painting this in too negative a fashion. It may be that this wife, from this captive wife, will turn out to be a wonderful Jewess, a wonderful wife, and produce wonderful children.
Yes, but the whole concept initially I find abhorrent, but to say this is abhorrent and the consequences are that no good will come of it, the morality is wrong.
Okay,
It's
I agree.
abhorrent, but who knows?
I agree. And it's clear that they don't want you to do it in the first place. And that this is only a sop to the weak men who can't keep their trousers on when they should. That's for sure. And I think, Julia, that the concept of no good will come of it is exactly because of that, because they don't want us to do it. And what if they just say to us weak men, it's naughty, you mustn't do it, it's immoral, then that's not enough to stop us from doing it. But if they add to that, and I'm not saying it's instead of that, but if in addition to saying this is a bad thing, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be cavorting with the enemy, you shouldn't be bringing in lusting after beautiful women from another place, you should be looking for an Ashes chayil in amongst your own people, that isn't enough just to tell them. What they're adding on to it, and of course this is only hinted at in the Torah. It doesn't say, therefore you will get a despised wife, therefore you will get. These are disjointed paragraphs, which, well, why are they put there? It's an asmachta, it's a hint, right? And it's, if you like, it's an additional thing. All right, if you're not strong enough to keep your trousers on when you should from a moral point of view, let me tell you, nothing good will come of this. And I can get that as a parent, as it were, trying to keep your children on the straight and narrow. You will use any technique that you can that might frighten them to do the right thing. And I think it's at that level. It's not saying the only reason you shouldn't do this is because no good will come of it. The reason you shouldn't do it is exactly as you've said, because it's immoral behavior. But if that's not enough for you, you should know that it'll end in tears. Mark my words. I can hear my father speaking now. Mark my words. It'll end in tears. So let me just go to David and then Hannah.
Yeah, Johnny,
David,
is there any medical evidence that marrying a cousin is unhealthy?
Genetic.
Yes, I think there are.
Okay,
I think first cousins. I think there are increased genetic problems with marrying first cousins marrying. Yeah.
Okay, but it's permitted in halacha.
Correct.
Okay, can you draw any parallel from that?
If I was being cynical, I would say that the genetic element is not considered by the Torah. It's the positive side of it is you marry within your own family, within your own ranks, and of course today in the Muslim world that's still very, very common. What are you driving at, David? Tell us.
There's something that's halachically acceptable, although I think, as far as custom is concerned, Sephardim do and Ashkenazim don't. I may be wrong. And there is a possibility that harm will come from such a relationship.
Okay, but nevertheless, it's still allowed.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't see a parallel because here, I'll tell you why I don't see a parallel. Here, it's clear that the Torah doesn't want us to do it. I don't think that's clear with first cousins because it's not one of the arayot. That's how I see it. Let me go to Hannah, and then we'll crack on with Amnon and Tamar. Yes, Hannah, you've been waiting patiently.
Apologizing first because I'm stupid, but I don't understand where we are and what we're doing and where we're going. I understood the section at the beginning of if you see a captive who's appealing to you, yeah, you've got to do these things. In my understanding, these things are all meant, they take time. They take weeks, if not longer. They're
a month.
meant.
It says so. A month. Says a month,
Okay.
Anna.
Months. They're meant as a serious cooling off period. So that when you come to your decision, you won't be with all the adrenaline. Okay, that's number one. They're not meant. Then it says very clearly, and it's my incorrectness, for a better word. It says, Yamim lacha miken tavo elea uva'alta. Now, the way I understand Hebrew is liv'ol is to have relations with, to be intimate with, not to marry her, but after she does all these things and you've waited several months and you still want to, then you're allowed. Now, I've not, in this lifetime, I've not been a man. I'm not unisex or whatever the term is these days. And I've only ever been a woman, so I don't know what it does to a man to be intimate with a woman that he thinks he wants to be with. But if afterwards he decides that it really wasn't what he thought it was going to be, and he doesn't really like her, then he lets her go free. And he can't put any restrictions on her. Yeah. But if he wants to, he still wants her, then he can marry her. And if he marries her, then she has all the rights of a wife. And he can't get rid of her afterwards. And they live together. Well, excuse me, we have the classic example of David and Bathsheba. Yeah, that was a relationship that arose out of lust. Yeah, David's lust for Bathsheba. And yes, the end was no good. The baby died. Okay, the child that was conceived died. Not a good ending. But after that, Solomon was born. And we have King Solomon. And that maybe tends to go a little bit to Julia's idea that who says that nothing good can come out of this? Yeah.
Okay.
But I also very much
can I suggest we read the story in the Gemarah and then it'll connect to what you're saying.
Let me just say that
one more comment before I finish, and then I'm finished. I also very much agree with the Rabbi Lieberman, that the Torah holds the family as sacrosanct, and the Torah will do almost anything to encourage people to maintain the holiness of the family. Yeah, and therefore the rider at the end that no good will come of this is, as I believe, is as the Rabbi says, it's there to strengthen the idea that you shouldn't do this. Yeah, and that's all.
Okay, so everything that you've said is absolutely right, and I just want to pick up on the first point that you said, which supports my theory, and that is the whole thing is meant to be a cooling off period. I agree with you 100%, which makes my objection to the fact that there is an opinion that says you're allowed to do it once beforehand. It completely destroys the entire theory.
But that's after months.
No. There is an opinion that says you can do it in the heat of battle before you bring her into that thing. That's in the Gemarah. We're going to come to it.
I'm reading the Torah, and the Torah says...
Correct. That's the exact point that I'm making, that the Gemarah is doing halachic acrobatics, and I don't like it. Right, enough. Let's go on to the story of Yehuda, of Amnon and Tamar. I said Yehuda and Tamar. That's a different story and a different Tamar. Right, Amnon and Tamar.
Same family.
Same family. They've got form, haven't they, David? They've got form. Right. So let's go to the story of Amnon and Tamar, because that is the next piece of Gemarah. It is in Shmuel Bet, chapter 13. So those of you who are learning Shmuel, bet with us. We're not that far away from it. We're only 6 chapters away. So probably about, I don't know, 6 months or so, we'll get to this chapter inside in great detail. But for the moment, I'm going to share the screen with you, and we're just going to read the story as is. Okay, we're not going to go into like we do in our Tanakh Shiur, and we scrutinize every single word. We'll leave that for the Tanakh Shiur. The moment, I just want to go through the story, and I'm just going to read it for you in English, and so it's on the screen for you so we understand the story. And then we'll go to the Gemarah, and we'll have a look at why the Gemarah is so disturbed by some of the story. Okay, and it came to pass after this, Avshalom, the son of David, had a fair sister whose name was Tamar, and Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Right, so what does that tell you for verse 1? That David had a child called Avshalom, and he had a sister called Tamar. That means Tamar is
Full sister.
a sister of Avshalom, and therefore a daughter of David, right?
Yeah.
You with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Amnon, the son of David, loved Tamar, the daughter of David. So they are, at the very least, half siblings. Everybody with me so far? Yes, right. So they are half siblings. Amnon loved Tamar. Now, when it says he loved her, it doesn't actually mean that, does it? Because when you read the story, what we find out is he didn't love her at all. What he did was he lusted after her. But it does say loved, vayehevah. It's from the word
I put lovesick.
Lovesick, okay, lovesick. And they've got to use the word love in there, because look at the Hebrew word has ahava in it. But actually, it's not love, it's lust, as you will see. Now then, this is why it's described as lovesick. Look at verse 2. Amnon was distressed to the point of making himself sick on account of Tamar, his sister, for she was a virgin, and it seemed difficult in Amnon's eyes to do anything unto her. In other words, he was absolutely lusting after her, and he couldn't find a way of satisfying this lust. Okay. I was going to ask all you fellows if you've ever been so lovesick that you've made yourself sick, but I won't ask you to incriminate yourself. So I'll leave you to your own thoughts on that matter. So now then, so what's happened then is that Amnon is absolutely madly in love or in lust.
Infatuated.
Infatuated, the
Besotted.
great word. Yeah, besotted, all of those things with Tamar. So what do you do when you're absolutely besotted with someone and you can't manage to? What do? You talk to your mates about it, right? That's what you do. You talk to them and you say, I don't know what to do. There's this girl there and I'm absolutely besotted with her. I don't know what to do. And that's what he did. He went to his friend whose name was Yonadav. Amnon had a friend whose name was Yonadav. Who was Yonadav? Yonadav was a nephew of David, and therefore a cousin of both Amnon and Tamar, right? He was the son of Shema, the brother of David. Now, here's an interesting thing. Ish chacham ma'od. He was a very clever man. Look how it's translated on the screen.
Nice.
Sly man. What have you got there, Michael?
Clever man.
Clever. Chacham is clever, isn't it? Now, can you be clever and sly?
Well,
Yep.
my mother used to use the word hocham in a very derogatory way.
Right. So usually we use the word chacham to be in a positive way. Talmid chacham, Shlomo Melech was chacham mikol adam. But of course, there is the concept of an evil genius.
A know-all as well.
We use that, yeah. Don't be a chochem, yeah. Don't be a chochem. But that's not what it means here. Here it means nasty. This guy's come up with a nasty plan. And so it's interesting because it uses chacham in a negative fashion. And in fact, in the Gemarah itself, it talks about that it was chacham l'rish'ah. It was chacham for evil purposes. And so I thought about this for a second earlier on this morning when I was preparing. Chacham for an evil person. We've seen that over the centuries, haven't we? Where people use their brilliance for negative things. And of course, what came to my mind, of course, was Superman. Yeah, there's always and Batman and all of these things. There's always an evil genius in there, and that's based on reality. There were people who used their cleverness for terrible things. So, for example, the people that designed the people that made worked out atomic bombs and things like that. The very most famous of them all, I suppose, whose genius was turned to negativity and then had terrible regret for it, who we've spoken about many times in this forum. Who am I thinking of?
Oppenheimer.
I was actually thinking of Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, and he felt so bad that his invention had been used for negative purposes that he set up the Nobel Foundation to reward positive things in the world, particularly peace. So yeah, Ish Chacham Ma'od, this Yonadav was a sly guy. So what did he say to him? He
John,
said to him,
you got a biblical precedent for this, using this verb, hava nidchak malo.
Oh, very good.
So deal wisely in a negative fashion.
Yes, very good. This is, David is referring to a Pharaoh who, when he saw that the Bnei Israel were getting strong and numerous, he says to his advisors, Havanit chakmalo, let's get clever with these people, from the same root as chacham. Let's get clever with these people. And what did they do to get clever with them? They taxed them up to the hilt and then made them into slaves. Very good, David. Excellent. So chacham can be negative, and here it's negative. So Yonadav says to Amnon, Oy Veismir, you're driving yourself to illness. You're making yourself ill with this woman. Why are you becoming so thin, O son of the king? From morning to morning, he's so lovesick he can't eat. He can't eat. He's getting thinner and thinner. What's with you? And Amnon said to him, I love this Tamar, the sister of Avshalom. I love her. So now it's interesting. He thinks he loves her. So he uses the word ahava. We actually know that he didn't love her because we're going to read on. But he thinks he loves her. And he's lovesick. It's a great word that the living Nach uses there. So Yonadav comes up with a trick. He says, I've got an idea. He says, lie down on your bed and feign sickness. Pretend you're ill. And when your father comes to see you and he says, Nebuch, poor Amnon, what's the matter with you? Say to him, oh, I don't feel great. I feel terrible. Tell Tamar, my sister, to come and give me bread to eat. I want to see her prepare the food before my eyes that I may see and eat from her hand. Right? So he pretends to be ill. That's what Yonadav says. Pretend to be ill. That way you can lure Tamar into your bedroom where you're lying pretending to be ill, and then you can have your evil way with her. Okay, that's Yonadav's terrible idea. What does that remind you of a bit? Reminds me a little bit of the whole Bilam story, where Bilam gave advice to Balak to say, you know what, you want to do these people in, that they're a bit prone to this this women business. Get the Moabite women to start to seducing them. It's bad advice. It's advice that leads to bad things. And this Yonadav gave bad advice, but Amnon bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Verse 6, Amnon lay down, fake sickness. King came to see him. Amnon said to the king, tell Tamar to come, etc. And the king, he fell for it. He says he sent home to Tamar saying, go now to your brother Amnon's house and prepare the food for him. I just want to point out to you here, and we'll do it in detail in when we do it in Tanakh, but I can't resist it. Look how many times it speaks about their relationship. Amnon says, I'm in love with my sister, the sister of Avshalom, sister, brother, sister. David said to Tamar, go to your brother Amnon's house, in case you didn't know who Amnon was. The Tanakh is stressing this relationship the whole time, because it ought to have been sufficient for Amnon to have behaved himself, the fact that he was a sister, but it wasn't. So Tamar went.
There's a parallel with that language and stressing the family relationship in the first rape case that we find in Tanakh.
The first rape case we find in Tanakh. What where's that? The Pilegesh of Giva?
No.
Dina's the first case.
Yaakov.
Oh, Dinah, of
Dinah.
course. Dinah, yes, Dinah. Dinah was the contrary. Dinah was protected by her brothers, as opposed to
but too late.
Okay, yeah, but you know, Shimon and Levi weren't having it. Anyway, we'll see. You see, actually, the parallel is later on, isn't it? When Avshalom.
No, I'm just pointing out the parallel in the language,
Right.
And in Parashat Vayishlach, it stresses the family relationships just as it's stressing it here.
Right, and we'll see later on that Avshalom takes on the role of Shimon and Levi, and avenges his sister's shame, as it were. Let's carry on. Verse 8, Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, again, brother, and he was lying down, and she took the dough and kneaded it and prepared the dumplings before his eyes, and she cooked them, and she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. He says, no. And he said, take everybody out from me. He took everybody out, everybody went out, and then what's happened now? If everybody's left the room, who remains in the room? Tamar and Amnon. Alone. Okay? Just bear that in mind when we come to the Gemarah, because the Gemarah is going to learn something from this event.
Yichud,
Yes. Okay, so everyone goes out, and he says she brought them near to him to eat, and he took hold of her. Vayachazek ba. He took hold of her from chazak. He took hold of her strongly, meaning what? She couldn't escape.
he grabbed her.
She couldn't get away. And he said, Boy shichvi imi achoti. Come and lie with me, my sister. Just want to point out that one of you, I think it was Hannah, said a few weeks ago that this verb shichvi, lishchov, is not necessarily of a sexual nature. Here it clearly is. He says, come and lie with me. The meaning is obvious. And she says to him, no. Al achi, no, my brother. Al ta'aneni, do not force me. Do not rape me. Do not rape me. That's what it says. Do not force me. Do not rape me. Ki lo ya'aseh chen b'Yisrael. This is not the thing we do. This is not the right thing to do in Israel. We don't do this kind of thing. Al ta'aseh et hanavala hazot. Don't do this terrible thing. Navala. We've had that word before, haven't we? A dreadful thing. Naval. That's right.
The husband of Abigail.
The husband of Abigail. Very good. So don't do this terrible thing. She says no. And does he listen? No, he doesn't. V'lo aval lishmoa b'kola, he didn't listen to her. He took hold of her, vayechezak mimena, vayaneha, and he raped her, vayishkav ota, and he lay with her. Now, he's done this terrible, terrible thing. First of all, he's raped a woman, bichlal, raping a woman against her wishes, having intercourse with a woman against her wishes is not something that is allowed at all in Jewish
Did you
law.
read 13?
Did I read 13? Oh, I missed it out. Okay, wasn't deliberate. She says to him, "Va'ani ana olichet cherpati." If you do this to me, where will it lead me? I'll be shamed. Va'ata, and as for you, tiyeh ka'achad hanavalim b'Yisrael. You'll be one of those dreks in Israel, those terrible people. You'll be a naval. Va'ata, and now, this is the most important part, the most important pasuk that I missed out. Thank you. Va'ata, and now she says, I've got a better idea. She says, don't rape me, because that's a terrible thing to do. Daber na el hamelech, speak to the king. Ki lo yimna'eni mimeka. He will not withhold me from you. Meaning, speak to the king, and he'll let us get married. What's she trying to do here? She's trying to give him a way out, which will still satisfy his needs. And basically, she says, don't rape me. It's a terrible thing to do. If we go to the king and we ask the king if it's okay for us to get married, for sure he'll allow us. And then all will be well and we'll be man and wife and you can then do what you need to do. Okay. But that's not what happened. He didn't do that. He raped her, and then verse 15, immediately, vayisna'eha Amnon sin'ah gdola ma'od, ki gdola hasina asher sne'a me'ava she'ayeva. Immediately he hated her so much that he hated her even more than he loved her before. How can that happen instantly?
Because he hated himself.
Okay, very good. Okay, hold
They're
that
two
thought.
sides of the same coin.
Yes, this is the most fascinating chapter. We'll get to it when we do it Tanakh. We're not going to go into the Tanakh here now because we've got to do the Gemarah, because this is meant to be a Gemarah share. Anyway, he sends her away, and that's it. Now, the important part for our Gemarah is the pasuk that I missed out, not deliberately. Verse 13. She says to him, don't rape me. Let's go to the king and he will allow us to marry. So hold that story. That's the story so far. Amnon desires his sister, his half-sister. Yonadav says, lure her into your room. She comes. He starts to rape her. She says, stop, don't do it, let's get married. And he doesn't listen, and he rapes her. That's a story that we've got so far. Now let's go to the Gemarah. Over here, it's on page 123 if you're in the Steinsaltz. It's on the screen for you, I hope. Can you see the screen? Yeah? It's on Chof Aleph, Omad Aleph towards the bottom. And we're over here. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Tamar bat Yefat To'ar Haita. Tamar must have been the product of a relationship between David and a bat and a Eshet Yefat To'ar. She must have been the product of this relationship between David and the beautiful captive woman. Why do we say that? And he gives a proof. The proof is that Tamar says, let's go to the king and ask him permission to get married.
That would take a month.
How could that happen if they're sisters? Sister and brother, they're siblings.
That would take the month that the captive has to wait before he can marry the...
No, this is the daughter, Jackie. This is the daughter. This has already happened 20 years ago or however old Tamar is. what the Gemarah is saying is that this Tamar is the product of the relationship between David and the captive woman 20 years ago. Out of that relationship came a child called Tamar. Now, why does the Rav Yehuda Amar Rav say that? Because it can't be that Tamar is considered to be a proper daughter of David. Because if she is a proper daughter of David, she is a half-sister to Amnon. And it's impossible for them to get married, whether the king allows it or not. So it can't be.
One of the soldiers.
Whoa. One at a time. Wait.
Absalom is heir to the throne.
Wait. I'm going to mute you. You're not waiting. Right. Wait. We've got to set our scene first. Okay. We've got to get clear in our head what Rav Yehuda Amar Rav is saying. He's saying that the very fact that there was a possibility that Tamar could marry Amnon with the permission of the king is dependent on the fact that Tamar would be allowed to marry Amnon. And that cannot be if she was a half sister to Amnon. Therefore, the Gemarah is saying, Rav Yehuda Amar Rav is saying, it must be that somehow or other Tamar was not a true child of David, or was at least legally was not considered a child of David, because otherwise they could never get married in the first place. Everybody understand that concept that Rav Yehuda Amar Rav is saying? Yes, right. Now, so he says, how can it be? What situation can we have that would get us out of this pickle that Amnon and Tamar could possibly get married? So he says it must be that she was the daughter of a Yafat Torah, of a beautiful woman, who is not considered, therefore, the daughter of David. Now, let's just do the Gemarah inside, and then I'll take your questions, and then we'll go on and explain how we get to this situation. But we've got a massive problem with this, and I want to see if you can get this massive problem considering what we spoke about last week, which you won't, because you won't remember what we did last week. Right, let's just do inside the Gemarah. Tell the king we want to get married. And if you'll say, if it'll come into your mind that she, Tamar, was a legitimate child of a proper nisuin, of a proper marriage with David, would she have been permitted to him? She's his sister. Rhetorical question. Whoa. Rhetorical question. Wait. Ella, shmamina. Therefore, we must learn from here, says Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Bat Yafat Torah Haita. She must have been, this Tamar, the daughter of a beautiful captive woman, and therefore, and in brackets, therefore not considered to be a true daughter of David. That's what Rav Yehuda Amar Rav says. Now, Hannah, now you can say your piece, please.
No, I have a question.
Go on.
Does Divrei Yamim or anywhere else say who is older, Avshalom or Tamar?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
You mean Absalom or Amnon?
No,
No,
Absalom
I mean,
Tamar.
No,
Because
she
they're
means
full
Tamar.
brother and sister.
She means Tamar, because if they were full brother and sister, it's a very good question, this. If they were full brother and sister, and Avshalom was older, then he had no, he was also then not considered to be a proper son of the king, and therefore wouldn't have any
Wouldn't
rights
be in
to the
line
throne.
for the throne.
He wouldn't have any rights to the
I
throne.
believe that Amnon was first in line to the throne. That he was the older brother.
I don't know the answer to your question, Hannah, but logically, we have to say that Tamar was older than Avshalom.
Why?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a minute, but I don't want to tell you right now because it'll spoil the next bit. But I will tell you why in a minute. Okay. So, yes, Julia.
Well, I just had another suggestion, which is Tamar doesn't know that she's an innocent girl. She may not know that she can't marry her half brother. I mean, she could be saying this, but she has no idea.
Okay, that's fair comment. I also had another thought about this. If you were about to be raped, you'd say anything you could to get out of it, even if it wasn't correct, right? She might have known that it wasn't possible, but she's still trying to prevent herself being raped. But that's not how Rav Yehuda. That's not Rav Yehuda Amar Rab's point. So you're right. There is another possible explanation, but it's not his explanation.
But
Can I make a point,
being
Jonathan?
the daughter of a soldier, like we said, spoken previously.
Go on, Michael.
And therefore considered to be one of David's kids, despite the fact that one of the 400, despite the fact that he hadn't sired her.
So we've got that same problem because we do know further up in the Gemarah, which we did last week, that these children that were I see what you mean. So what you're saying is that no, well we know that can't be right.
Do we know that she wasn't, basically?
Yeah, because we know that she's a full sister of Avshalom.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so now then, last week we spent a long time going through the situation, and I went through it again today in great detail because I was disturbed by this. We went through the great detail, the halacha. We had a discussion and a disagreement amongst our chevra, but I told you what the halacha is because it happens to be something that I know, one of the few things that I know well, and that is that a woman who is pregnant when she converts and has a child after conversion, that child is Jewish. Now then, if Tamar was born to her mother, whose name was Ma'acha, by the way, if Ma'acha was an Eshet Yafat Toar, and David, of course, would have gone through the halacha, he knew the halacha, he knew Parshat Ki Teitzei, he would not have had relations with Ma'acha until after he'd gone through this process. And therefore, when Tamar was born to Ma'acha, Ma'acha was Jewish. She'd been through the process, and therefore Tamar was the daughter of David. How does Rav Yehuda Amar Rav get to a situation where he says that Tamar is a daughter of an Yafat To'ah, and therefore she's not considered to be a child of David? How does that happen? How is that possible?
He only married her after the baby was born.
But she was Jewish. Why do you mean you married her after the baby was born? The whole thing only takes a month. It takes more than a month to have a baby.
Yeah, the fact that she was Jewish, she could have been a beautiful woman. She could still be Jewish, and he could have still had relations with her before he married her.
But you shouldn't have done because of the
He
halacha.
shouldn't have done. Okay, well and good. But...
right. We don't say he shouldn't have done. He's not. One sec. We don't say that David did something he shouldn't have done. You're not allowed to do that, right? Okay. David knows the halacha. Yes, Hannah.
Google says Avshalom is older than Tamar. In the biblical account, Avshalom is described as the third son of David, while Tamar is his daughter. They are both children of David and Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur, making them full siblings. Avshalom is older, according to Google, Avshalom is older than Tamar.
Okay, if Avshalom is older than Tamar, then at first thought, this whole Gemarah is completely wrong. Or Avshalom has no rights to the throne. You can't have it both ways. If Avshalom has rights to the throne, he is a child of David. If he's a child of David, then Tamar, who's younger than him, is a child of David. It only works if Tamar is older than him and that she was born before the Eshet
There's
Yifat
another
Torah.
solution.
No, one sec. Okay, give me your solution, then I'll tell you what the Gemarah is, what Rav Yehuda is saying.
Amnon was the child of a Yafat Torah.
Amnon was not the child of an Yifat Torah.
Whose child was he?
Amnon was a child of Achinoam.
No.
Right.
Why is there no opposition to this? I mean, we go through the Gemarah. We have Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav. We usually have other of the sages saying, but this is the case, or this is the case, and we have it going on for pages. Here, we've just got one opinion.
Okay, well, to make you feel better about it, Rashi and Tosfos go on for pages and pages about it and argue back and forth. So let me tell you what's going on here. Remember, I said to you that there was a halachic acrobatics going on, which I was not happy with. The halachic acrobatics here are that the opinion of Rav Yehuda Amar Rav is consistent with the opinion that says they're allowed to have relationships with this Yifat Torah once in the heat of battle. And the concept is that once in the heat of battle, David had relations with Ma'acha, and Tamar was the offspring of that. Now you know why it doesn't work if Avshalom is older than her. Okay? So according to this opinion, or according to the opinion that says the soldiers were allowed to basically rape the woman in the heat of battle once, and then had to go through the process of Eshet Yifat Torah, then you're able to say that Tamar was conceived as from a non-Jewish woman. Conceived from a non-Jewish woman, and therefore she's not considered to be a daughter of David. Now then, stop there for a second. She was conceived in the heat of battle when, according to this opinion, a soldier, in this case David, was allowed to rape the woman before the Eshet Yifat Torah business. Then comes the Eshet Yifat Torah business, and that takes how long?
A month.
A month. And then comes the birth of Tamar. What's our problem here?
Her mother was Jewish when she was born.
Correct. She might have been conceived to a non-Jewish woman, but we know, don't we? Because I told you last week, and it's in the Shulchan Aruch. I'll show you the Shulchan Aruch in a minute. That it's very clear that a woman who converts whilst pregnant and then gives birth, that child is Jewish and therefore is considered the child of David. So we've got a massive problem here. We've created a problem for ourselves by halachic acrobatics, by bringing in this idea. Somehow or other, we have to make Tamar not a daughter of David. Otherwise, the pasuk makes no sense other than to say what I said, which is she's just trying to get out of a sticky situation, or what Julia says is she didn't know the halacha. If you don't say those things, you've got to make Tamar not a half sibling of Amnon. Everyone with me so far in this process? Right. So Rav Yehuda Amar Rav says that his opinion is A, a soldier's allowed to do it once in the heat of battle, and B, in that situation, that issue conceived in that manner is not considered to be the offspring of the father. In contrast to the halacha that we know about a Jewish woman, a non-Jewish woman converts whilst pregnant. Yes, Hannah.
Shimon married Dinah.
Who married Dinah? Well, there's a midrash about
Shimon.
that, isn't there?
Shimon.
Shimon,
Yeah.
Shimon married Dinah, and Dinah was his full sister.
but he didn't have any children.
No, but that means that maybe there's an opening there for David to agree to Tamar and Amnon.
Torah wasn't given at the time of
Oh,
Dinah.
Yeah.
What was
So,
it? I didn't hear what David said.
Torah wasn't given then.
time of Shimon and first of all, Shimon and Dinah is a midrash. It's not mafurash. Second, which I don't happen to like that midrash for obvious reasons. Secondly, as David says, the Torah was not yet given,
Yaakov married two sisters.
And they
Yaakov married
they
two
lived as brother and
sisters.
sister.
That's another explanation. They never, a bit like Paltiel and Michal, all sorts of ways out of that. Okay, time is up. And this week's homework, without cheating and asking ChatGPT, how do we square the situation that Rav Yehuda Amar Rav has that Tamar was conceived to a non-Jewish woman and therefore was not considered a child of David and therefore allowed to marry Amnon? How do we square that with the halacha that says a woman conceived, a baby conceived by a non-Jewish woman, but given birth to a woman who is Jewish, i.e. she has converted in the meantime, is a Jewish child and is considered the child of the father? No, I don't want an answer now, Julia. I want an answer next week.
I have a question.
Go on.
Is it possible that she didn't, their mother didn't convert, but she
Okay, wait.
stayed?
This is an answer framed as a question. So I want your answer.
Question before your homework.
No, I want the question. I want the question next week. Okay, right. Any questions which are not answering the question that I've just set for next week? No. Right. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You think that was fun? Wait till next week and we get to the next piece of Gemarah. Then you'll really get in a bit of a shock. But before we get to that, we have to square our conundrum, which we'll do Bezrat Hashem at the beginning of next week's shiur.
Thank you.
Love.
Stop the
Thank you.
recording.